afternoon, everyone. Welcome inside the friendly confines of the Q Studios. It's another edition of On Q on this Tuesday as we are early on in the month of September and already panic time, week one of the NFL season in the books. Panic time for some. We will dissect it and get into it. Rich Quinones here. We'll take you up to about 6 o'clock or so. As always, don't forget to get social with me. You can tag along on social media at X and IG, and of course at Rich Q on Q, TikTok Rich Q on the mic. So Lloyd Vance will join me at about 15 to 20. We'll go over week two, and we'll start to look ahead to week two, but we'll put a bow on week one, I should say. And listen, this is the theme of the NFL right now, and pardon the voice with the allergies today, but this is another example that the game is never over in the NFL. We saw last night, Monday Night Football. Not the most competitive game between the Bears and the Vikings, but same old Bears. You have an opportunity to make a statement to open up the season, and defensively, they just allow the Minnesota Vikings and J.J. McCarthy to get back into the contest last night and make some plays with his arm and his legs in that fourth quarter. And that's a nice win for the Minnesota Vikings. And the kid showed you something. The kid showed you a little moxie, just some guts. He showed you some guile, and that's what you're looking for in a young quarterback. But that's a brutal loss for the Chicago Bears last night. And I thought, listen, Caleb Williams made a couple plays here and there, and that's a really nice win for a young quarterback, rookie quarterback, in his rookie debut on the road against a divisional opponent. So it just shows you in the NFL that you're never out of a game. You're never out of a game in the NFL. And that's kind of, again, the beauty of the league. Now, you have a lot going on today. You have a lot going on in the NFL. The league came down, and Jalen Carter will not be suspended. I think it's a crock of BS, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I really do. I don't want to hear this nonsense because, he was ejected 6 seconds in. That counts as a suspension. It's Bush League, but whatever. He's not going to be suspended. A little fine, and away we go. You've got the injuries with the San Francisco 49ers, and then they cut the kicker. I mean, we mocked the Browns, we mocked the Jets, we mocked the my Giants. The 49ers are in for a very long season. You cut the kicker, Moody, right? You turn around, you put Kittle on the IR. They're already starting to question that contract of Brock Purdy and if he's worth the money, and he's banged up. So not the best week one for the San Francisco 49ers. And then speaking of which, how about the hot seat right now in Miami, in South Beach? Getting a little hotter. It's getting a little hotter. Players are coming out, starting to gripe a little bit, starting to call out Tua. You get the issues with Hill now. Mike McDaniel, the act is kind of wearing thin on McDaniel in Miami. So here we go. I mean, listen, I just, it's the NFL, man. It is it's a week to week proposition. And yeah, we're never going to get it right. I'm going to have more hits than I have misses, but a couple things we already know. You're starting to see after 1 week, the teams that are basically ready to friggin' play football. And other teams are not good. And they're not even up to snuff. You got CJ Stroud with the Texans right now basically saying players are lollygagging. He's calling out his teammates after 1 week. So there's high drama. It's the beauty of the NFL. But as I mentioned, it's a long season. I still believe some teams can figure it out. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the Giants, the Jets, and the Browns are figuring it out. And I know the injuries stink for the 49ers, and I was a little more giddy and high on them than most people were. Miami, I think, is shot to shit. I think Miami's cooked. I think that head coach is a dead man walking. I think they have major buyer's remorse with giving Tua that money. And I understand it. I understand the argument that you can make at the time when you gave Tua that money. Now, I was on the record saying you got to pay him. You got to pay him because he puts up gaudy numbers. We could have made an argument. He was MVP of the league a couple years ago before he got, one of the many concussions. And that was a team that just, unfortunately, when they couldn't run the football, played in bad weather, that was pretty much all she wrote for them. But the market at the time said go out and pay Tua. And I also mentioned, too, some of these head coaches, they're on the hot seat. Shanahan's on the hot seat in San Francisco. I mean, look, you turn around and listen, you waive a kicker after 1 week. That's sending a message. Now, I don't think Atlanta's going to waive their kicker, who's had some big moments for them over the last several years. But Shanahan just figured, you know what? Get him the hell out of here. Because that's a tough loss. You never want to lose games when it comes down to extra points and field goals. They're having the same discussion up in Cleveland with their kicker. I mean, you're paid to do one thing in the NFL if you're a kicker. That's knock it through the friggin' uprights. And for some reason, it's harder for these guys. I don't get it. Where everyone in the league is kicking 55-plus yard field goals, these guys can't even make friggin' chip shots. I mean, it's just, now you turn around, you got to sign another kicker. So what does that tell me? You're going to keep going on fourth down because you don't trust your kicker? That's a bad spot to be in. It's a bad spot to be in. You have to have confidence in your kicker. You got to have confidence in your players. You got to have confidence, again, in your coaching staff, right? And listen, if a kicker, I can't believe we're starting the show with kickers, but how many playoff games have we seen lost by kickers? Go ask Minnesota over the years. I mean, that's a tough nut to crack. All of a sudden, boom, you're turning around, you cut your kicker after 1 week. And special teams, I think the Jets, I was a little surprised Aaron Glenn still didn't cut that kid for the fumbles and the miscues. But there are teams that are going to have an opportunity to right the ship. Seriously. They're going to be able to right the ship. I'm not giving up on a team like San Francisco. I'm not going to give up on, a team like the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions didn't even show up the other day. Or is that more about Green Bay? But I'm telling you, teams like the Giants, who already came out and said that Russell Wilson's going to be the starter against the Dallas Cowboys, which again, it's perplexing to me, to be quite honest. I think the fact that they're going to keep going to Russell Wilson tells me they're buying more time with Brian Daboll. I mean, consider this for a minute. You go to Jackson Dart, then you have an excuse to say, give me another season. If you start him, say, week 7, 8, 9. You start in week 2, you're pretty much riding him the rest of the season. If it doesn't work out, you're still going to be out of a job. So some of these teams right now, they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure it out. That Bears game last night, same old friggin' Bears. I mean, come on. Same old Bears, right? I mean, you choke a game away in which you were playing really well. That quarterback was making plays. Minnesota, offensively, they couldn't do anything. They just couldn't. And you're out there, you're making plays. You let your quarterback do it with his legs, slinging it, scrambling all over the friggin' place. Playing a good game, getting the tight ends into the mix, getting the backs out of the backfield, getting into the mix. That's a tone setter. Like there are certain teams that I believe in the NFL, they can ill afford to lose a week 1 like that. Baltimore's a veteran playoff tested team. They're going to be fine. But the Bears, it reminds me of the loss they had against Washington midseason. Jaden Daniels coming out party last year. I mean, it galvanized Washington and sent the Bears into a tailspin. But point being is, you're at home. You got the 86 Bears there. You're celebrating that great dominant squad that went 15-1, that waxed the Patriots 46-10 in the Super Bowl. That killed every team in the playoffs, including my Giants, the Rams, New England. And you're looking good. You're up 17-6 at home in the fourth quarter, and you let a rookie quarterback account for 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Now, again, great play calling, excellent job defensively by Flores, dialing it up late in that fourth quarter. McCarthy looked the part. He played well, but you have no business losing that game if you're a Bears fan. You have no business losing that game. None. None whatsoever. You're pretty much dominating in every friggin' phase of the game. And then what happens? You get the miscues. You get the bad penalties. I mean, after you had that pick six, I'm saying to myself, okay, this game is over. This game is over. 17-6, put it in the books. Put it in the books. And when Jefferson started to wake up, after that right return and makes it 17-6 in the third quarter, I'm like, the game's over. But then it turned around in the fourth. McCarthy hits Jefferson. I mean, just absolutely just threw a dart. Then they take the lead on the 27-yard touchdown pass. Aaron Jones sneaking out of backfield. Gorgeous toss and catch. They get the 2-pointer. Now it's 20-17. And then he uses his legs. And the Bears just were punched in the gut after that. They were done. They were absolutely done after that. All right, 5 o'clock straight up. See what you guys have to say. No banker hours today. Get the hell out of here with that nonsense. Do we have to have a toughen up Tuesday? Wasted 8 aprons on McCarthy. Much better than I thought he would be. Hey, listen. I don't know how in the world anyone can sit there and say the kid was going to be bad or good when he never friggin' took an NFL snap. I mean, come on. Stop. Because you saw him in Michigan. You said 10 wins. I said 4. 49ers, yeah. I'm not giving up on the 49ers. I didn't think they were going to. Listen, the injuries, I can't count for injuries, man. But I'll tell you this. A lot of talk out west right now in San Fran, a little stick about Brock Purdy. Is he a franchise quarterback? They got some issues right now. They got some issues. Let's see. Tua. Mike in Clearwater. Q, the talk down here is that McDaniel's going to be out at the end of the season. There's certainly buyer's remorse. With Tua, I don't know why in hell in the world they gave him that money, but this team is basically a sinking ship. Too many egos. They need to blow it up. Yeah, I think that might be the case with the Miami Dolphins. I think they're in trouble. Tua's going to look like Jim Carrey. It's like a word in Ace Ventura if he takes another hit. He takes a lot of hits, man, but they also invested a boatload of money, okay, into him. They paid Tua. And I was adamant, you got to pay him, man. Because it's what the market bared. And what was your other option? What was your other option? The problem now is they're kind of in the same boat that the Giants were in with Daniel Jones. They might be in the same boat. San Fran might be there down the road. It's not a good look when you have an ex-player, and this always happens. You get the ex-player to come back. They play against a team that cut them, released them, trade them. They blow him out. Then the ex-player gets right to the microphone, and what does he do? He pisses on his former teammates. That's exactly what Howard did after the game with Tua, basically saying the kid was in panic mode. Right? You can't turn the ball over like he does. It's alarming. It is absolutely alarming. Got to be more careful with the football. A little more judicious. At times when he has the turnovers, they're not good. I mean, you had 3 picks and a lost fumble. Now that game was done. That game was done. But he only turned the ball over in 3 games last season. So what is it now? Are we going to credit the Colts? Was he in panic mode? Was it the play calling? Was it the line? Sometimes his turnovers are really bad. You can't turn the football over in the NFL. You can't. You're not going to win games. You know it and I know it. Allergies back. Your Giants have you so wound up they're making you sick. No, pardon me. It's just the allergies, man. Anytime they cut, again, the lawn down here, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, right? I mean, it's just the allergies are just ugh. Vince, the 49ers cut the kicker. Cleveland won't. See what I mean about cutting guys? Moody was a third round pick. Yeah, I'm a little surprised at Cleveland. Well, listen, I mentioned this yesterday too. I'm a little surprised that the Jets didn't cut that kid that had the fumbles. And Cleveland, that kicker had what? A couple missed field goals and an extra point. I mean, you're not going to win many games like that in the NFL. You're not. I mean, it's so hard to win in the NFL. It is. It's so hard to win. So this kid, he missed what? He was 1-2 and he missed a field goal and an extra point. There's 3 right there. There's the win, 20-16. Actually, there's 4 right there, 21-16. I'm sorry. Let me do the math again, liberal arts math. 17-16, 3-1, 20-17. Thank you very little. We'll just add that up on the calculator. But yeah, you can't miss those kicks, man. Now, here's the thing. This kid's a rookie. That's the other thing. That's kind of the difference. This kid's a rookie. Moody's been around the block. Okay? Moody's been around the block. Now, I know what you're saying about, to me, it's kind of apples and oranges. What if he comes back and he drills 4 of 4 against Baltimore, including a 55-yarder to win it, right? I mean, I get what you're saying on the surface, and they don't have, from what I just pulled up, they don't have any other kickers on the roster. So they might have to start bringing in kickers. I don't know, but I'm not going to panic too much after one game with Cleveland missing, the field goal and the extra point. They hung in there. We are placing odds for first coach to get fired. Is it Dable or McDaniel? It's a great question. So here's my thinking. I don't believe, what Brian Dable is doing is smart, even though I can't stand it. He's saving his ass right now because he still believes Russell Wilson gives the Giants the best chance to win football games. That's why he's going to keep trotting them out there. I don't want to hear this shit. I've been hearing it for 15 friggin' years about the offensive line. I am so over it. They've been trying to fix this offensive line since Eli's last couple of years, and they wasted his prime because they never addressed the line. So that falls on all the GMs you brought in, whether it was the Reeses, whether it was the Gettlemans, whether it was the friggin' Joe Shanes. I don't want to hear it. I don't. Like, talent evaluate, man. Fix the friggin' line. Seriously. Fix the god-darn line, will you? My God. We talk about talent evaluation with the quarterbacks. How about friggin' tackles and linemen? Jesus Christmas. Can you friggin' fix it? So Dable's going to keep trotting out Russell Wilson, and if they win some games, all that does is buy him time. You start Jackson Dart now, you pretty much have a whole season. There's no excuses. You'll get more reps, first-team reps in practice. Here we go. 7, 8, 9 weeks in, and then you start him at 2 and 6. Then he can defend himself and say, well, give me another season with this kid. I think Brian Dable sucks as a head coach. I'm sorry. I was never enamored with Brian Dable. I love the fact that on the road to open up the season, they went for it against Tennessee and got the 2 and made the playoffs. That was Daniel Jones's year and Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones, his legs won them 6 or 7 friggin' games. And they went on the road and he played well in Minnesota. And then you saw the frustration from Brian Dable because they were a bad team coming out of the gate the following season. And he started to throw his quarterback under the bus. He never wanted Daniel Jones. That's the problem. Like, you have these head coaches and these GMs in the NFL. Sometimes they don't want these guys. They inherit them. And they don't have a choice, right? Can't choose your family. You're stuck with them. But like now, because they drafted Dart, his defense is, well, let us work with the kid. It's pretty obvious their coaching staff and their level of evaluating talent, it's not even a level. They're so far gone. It's a rudderless ship. There's no identity with the franchise. So to your point, I believe Dable will get the season. I believe they will give him the season. He'll trot out Russell Wilson a couple more times, who's friggin' cooked, shot. He's done. He's done. I don't even know, and I hate to say this, I don't even know if Russell Wilson really wants to play football anymore. I really don't know. He's made a lot of money. He's got a gorgeous wife. He wants to be, the New York, the lights, the superstar. Go to the Knicks games, wave. Go to Yankee games, waves. Do commercials. I don't know if his heart's really into it, and that's the problem. That's the problem. And I'm going to tell you something else. Going to your point with McDaniel, Vince, because it's a real good question you bring up. Here's one of the reasons that I think McDaniel, as many of you pushed back, was on the hot seat going into the season. Now, it doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but the fact that they were toiling with the idea of Darren Waller and the fact that Darren Waller decided, I'm not going to make rap music or videos anymore and come quote out of de facto retirement, like late in the offseason, training camp-ish, it just tells me they don't have any direction, right? Like, you're not seeing that with Kansas City. You're not seeing that with Baltimore. You're not going to see that with the Philadelphia Eagles. You're not. Oh, yeah, this guy's going to come. You already knew he's flaky. You already knew this, this guy had issues off the field. I mean, hell, we found out with the Giants. His heart wasn't into it. He doesn't want to play football anymore. But you're going to take a flyer on this guy because what are you doing? You're trying to, piece together some things. That doesn't work. And you can sit there in the press conference and you can say, the goofy stuff, talk about, well, it's a good day I woke up, or, it's a sad day I might not wake up to. Whatever the hell he says half the time, because I don't even listen. It was cute when you win. It's not cute when you friggin' lose. It's not cute when you get waxed by 35 points against a team you should have beat. Then you get the issues with Hill. You got Tua. You got players now barking. It's not good. It's not good. And they need to figure it out. They need to figure it out big time because, again, you in the NFL, GMs and head coaches, like, we know there's 32 spots, right? There's 32 spots in the NFL. So we sit as fans or the media, we sit here and say, why the hell do you want to take that job? Well, there's only 32 open spots. There's only 32 open spots. So when you're on the hot seat, I mean, look, the one thing you need to do in the NFL besides win games is win divisional matchups. You have to. You got to win games in your division. Brian Daboll's 4-14-1 in his last 19 games in the NFC East. That alone tells you everything. He's not a good head coach. You can talk about the offensive line, the injuries, the talent. Saquon's not running for 2,000 yards behind that offensive line. He's not. They held on to some players. They had some bad hits. Kadarius Toney, right? The offensive line, it's been horrible for years. They gave Daniel Jones a lot of money, but the coach never trusted him. Never trusted him. So, chicken or the egg, horse or the carriage. You have a bad offensive line. I'd rather stick Russell Wilson back there and he gets his ass hung out to dry than the Jackson Dart, and you ruin the kid too early. Now, with all that being said, I want to see the kid sooner rather than later. I really do. I want to see him sooner rather than later. That's just me. I think it's sink or swim. Again, in the proposition, but that's just me. Pardon me. I'm telling you, we got to have Fred. Hold on. Oh, that's not bad. Fresh roasted coffee. Listen, I'm telling you right now, it's when they mow the lawn at like 5:00 and I'm out there with the Keekster, the allergies are just brutal. And I'm not taking the Benadryl crap because it makes you drowsy. So I take Xylol. Now, I will say this. I had one sip of the layup the other night and Kaputski. 8:00, we are counting sheep. Good point about Dayball, hell, throwing Stefanski too. Stefanski's in that same boat. He's in the same boat. I don't know, like, a lot of people think he's going to get a job right off the bat. I don't think Dayball will. Stefanski might. I don't know. De facto, you got to move Q. You can't have lawn care messing up with the moneymaker like that. My part of the DMV is nice. You can change teams as well. The Commanders would be lucky to have you. No, no, no. Stefanski to me is on the hot seat, but I do like Tommy Reese. Stefanski's on the hot seat. Dable's on the hot seat. Um, McDaniel's on the hot. Shanahan's on the hot seat, right? Yes, thank you. I don't believe he wants to play football. He's not all in. I never bought the act. I told you this. I was told on good authority when he played in Seattle, players didn't even have his friggin' cell phone. He's not a team player. He's all about me, 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 me. Me, 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 me. That's it. You had to go through the secretary. Where's my sample queue? I want the layup samples in my door by Friday. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's it. That's an automatic ban, Vince. That's an automatic ban. You brought the dog. You brought Kiki into this with a veil threat. It's an automatic ban. That's 516. Nah, it's a week ban at least. A week's ban. A week. The listeners will let you know. You go after the dog like that? Ha! No, no. The dog is off limits. You want to come after me? Come after me. I'm a man. Come after me. Come after me. You keep Kiki out of the conversation. No. Even though it's funny because she is a mix. She's like a beagle, a hound, and a lab, like a beagador, like a crazy mix. And in the back, this dog smells everything. So there's a lot of rabbits. They come out early in the morning, but the little bunnies, they just kind of decide, hey, bloop, we'll just make a little home right in the center of the yard. And this dog sniffs them out, man. That Kiki would be if Kiki ever hung out with any of you cats, she would probably smell the weed on you a mile away. She's that kind of dog. She's a hunting dog. She's a hunting dog. She would know who would be smoking and joking. Uh, I went Vince on the layup, at least a discount code. Yeah, how about this? Go scratch. How about that? Use the promo code. Go after Kiki, go scratch. Yeah, yeah. On cue, go scratch. How about that? I'll have to talk to my man, Chris and J.R. Smith, to see if I can get the layup drink. Kind of slipped that in there. All right. 20 past. 5 o'clock hour. A lot of messages coming in on X and Facebook. We'll read them off. Lloyd Vance on the other side. Keep the comments coming. Yeah. Coaches on the hot seat after 1 week. And by the way, were you guys more impressed? So I'll throw this out. Now that we saw the Bills to Ravens game on Sunday night, the Bears and the Vikings game last night, who had the most impressive performance over the weekend? You want to go team? That's fine. You want to go player? Because now the week's in the books, and I know Scott was asking me. I still believe it was Josh Allen, and I venture to guess. That Lloyd probably has Josh Allen with his game ball. We'll do that with Vance's view coming up on the other side. But who to you? To you. See, this is what I'm saying. My dog's not a rat. My dog is a hunting friggin' dog. Now you're done. Man, you're banned today too. That's it. You're done. That's it. Vince, man, get the hell out of chat. That's it. 5'8", 5'19". No, we're not going to tolerate this nonsense today. We are not going to tolerate this nonsense. Dog is a hunting dog. Dog is a gem. That dog can do no wrong. That dog can spot things a mile away. You want a dog. You know what? My dog is a foxhole dog. Okay? Foxhole dog, seriously. So you can forget about the promo code for BYP. Forget about the promo code for layup. I got your layup right friggin' here. Promo code this. 20 past 5 o'clock hour. Lloyd's coming up on the other side. Who impressed? Who impressed? We'll get to it coming back. Keep it locked in. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up. All right, 21 past the 5 o'clock hour. Scott chimes in. Rogers impressed me the most. I can't stand him. Yeah, he's a jerk too. He played well though. The Jets. That's another team that should have won. Jets should have won that game. Period. How about this though? How about this? Oh, oh, Billy, 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 Billy. How about this? Ooh. So you can see the sample. There it is. There it is. See that, Vince? See that, Scotty boy? See that, man? Hey, de facto. Kevin C. I know you're all about the smoking and joking. Hey, Sarge. See it? There it is. Ooh. But again, it was one sip the other night, and the old man was counting sheep. It's like 8 o'clock. I'm like, what the hell? It was actually the Tuesday that we had the golf outing because it was a long day. Got home, and then I was like, you know what? I'll try like a sip, a sample. That's it. That's it. Because I don't partake. I don't treat my body like an amusement park like some of you guys do. I just don't. I don't. I tend to I tend to treat it like a shrine, a temple. You know. Now you guys, I don't believe you guys do that. I think you guys just like, hey man, come on board, let's ride it. So, all right, let's welcome our good friend Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football on SR 1029 FM. The game. What's going on, brother?
Doing great, Q, man. Exciting already, man. Week one lived up to all the hype.
Yeah, so you had a tweet. I wonder if it was directed to me when you basically were saying everyone needs to pump the brakes after 1 week. I don't know. Was that kind of like a Ryan Clarkish, Peter Schrager shot at me because I didn't play the game? I can't do it. Let me overreact right now. We'll get to my Giants in a moment. In your estimation, who had the best win of the weekend collectively? Best win of the weekend, week one.
Oh wow, that's a you're talking that team wise, correct?
Yeah,
Ooh, that's a tough one, Q. But I really think the Green Bay Packers really solidified their spot. It's like we're here. We could be the top dogs this season. We got Micah Parsons, and that was just a dominant victory over the Lions, a team who ran roughshod over their division last season. So they win 27-13. And as long as Jordan Love plays efficiently, I think can be a very dangerous team going through the season.
you had the Vikings last night coming back with a rookie quarterback making his debut. I thought the Bills, that game down 15, you get the Derrick Henry fumble, and Josh Allen was just a man possessed. I thought that was a fascinating win for Buffalo. These are the type of wins in a week one that set the tone for the season. Now, last night, I mean, look, you're up 17-7 in the fourth quarter. You can't allow a rookie quarterback in his debut on the road to account for 21 points. You just can't if you're the Bears.
Yeah, Q, and it was gut check time. It's all fun and games when you're winning through three quarters and everything. Everybody's happy, but they needed to play consistent defense and finish that game out. And conversely, on offense, Caleb Williams was making plays early on, but became tentative in the pocket and missed a lot of throws late, and it came back to bite him. And to J.J. McCarthy's credit, he stayed the course. He didn't get too high, too low, and at the end, he's played spectacularly last quarter.
Yeah, he played really, really well, but I also think sometimes it some of these teams, man, they can't close, right? I mean, Brian Flores dialed it up, man. I mean, he absolutely dialed it up. I like what I saw last night from the Vikings. I went on record. I didn't think they were going to be a team that was going to win 13, 14 games, but the kid played really well. The Colts, we gave you that outright. I thought the Colts played exceptional football. Daniel Jones, give him credit, played well. That kind of leads me to this. That hot seat in Miami starting to scorch a little bit. I mean, I think this. I think McDaniel's a dead man walking here. You lose 33-8. You get former players coming out. They're talking about Tua in panic mode. Offensively, they couldn't do anything on either side of the ball. You got the issues with Tyreek Hill. He's probably going to want to demand a trade anytime soon. So does McDaniel last through the season? And how how has it gone so wrong for Miami, even though we're only 1 week in?
Yeah, Q, and he was one of the number one guys. We talked about coaches on hot seat. Now, you and I going into the season, and they were just underachieving. And McDaniel, the bloom is off the rose. He was supposed to be this offensive genius, and teams have kind of figured him out. Tua, he was terrible. I can't put it any other way, Q. He had 3 turnovers in the game. He didn't complete any passes under duress, and as bad as Miami played, you have to look at the other side of the fence. Shane Steichen had the Colts ready to go, and particularly Daniel Jones. So it's looking more and more like Miami is going to fall to that last spot in that division because New England was very competitive in their game. The Jets as well. I know they didn't win, but yeah, McDaniel, we have to revisit this probably around November or so and see if he's able to make it that far.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Jets Steelers game. That was a good game. Again, that's a game that the Jets should have won the game. I mean, think about it, the kid has the muff, the fumble. Rodgers goes right down the field. Hey, I'll man up, even though it's a Tuesday. He played well. He turned back the clock, and then you have an opportunity on fourth down conversion. Justin Fields to Wilson, the ball's lodged out, and there you go. That's a big win for Pittsburgh. The Jets showed me a little something. Like Justin Fields looks like he can play, right? And if you're Pittsburgh, I think it still might be smoke and mirrors. Aaron Rodgers coming back, scene of the crime, you get the win, but reality is going to strike for that team, fairly fast.
Well, the Steelers, we always thought their calling card was going to be their defense, and their defense did not do a good job in terms of stopping Justin Fields, Breece Hall, and Garrett Wilson as well. So it was on the offense, which was crazy. Aaron Rodgers, 4 touchdown passes, and you handed out apologies. I need to Aaron Rodgers. I thought he was done, Q. I thought he would look like an old man out there, but he had a lot of moxie. I think it had to do with playing against the Jets. He wanted to beat their butt and put on a good performance, but the Steelers have a lot to clean up in terms of that defense. And then Justin Fields, yeah, he was competitive, and they found a way to get him on the edge, running the football, and he didn't look too bad throwing it as well.
No, he didn't. And he threw the ball down the field, unlike his counterpart in New York with the Giants. Without just just beating this horse to death, right? I just, for the life of me, that coach stands up there and the reporter basically, you know, leads him right to the water with the, did you think about pulling Russ? Are you thinking about going to Jackson next week? Because he hemmed and hawed and he left it open ended, he backed himself in a corner. Now, they go back to Russell Wilson. They're going to get smoked by the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, they are going to lose that game 33-10, 33-6. Russell Wilson, Lloyd, just he's a shell of himself. You might as well put Jameis Winston in there behind that offensive line. Like, I get it, they're mercenaries at this point in their career, but I will ask you this, because we've seen this scenario play out with coaches who are on the hot seat and then figuring out what they're going to do with the quarterback position. If Daboll continues to throw out Russell Wilson, he does it because he believes gives him the best chance to win and he can buy some time. If they decide to go to Jackson Dart, it's got to be now. Because now I can make the argument if I'm the Maras or Tish and I can say, hey, I've given you a whole season with this kid. You start this kid week 9, 10, then Daboll's going to have an opportunity to leverage that into give me next season with him, a full season. So it's like, this is where the frustration comes in as a fan, because I knew for a fact, what the hell did you even, you sign these guys prior to even knowing what you're going to do in the friggin' draft. And then you go out and you draft a quarterback.
Yeah, Q. And if it's time to play Jackson Dart. Everyone knows who Russell Wilson is.
Even behind the offensive line, the way it is.
Yeah, give the kid his chance. And to be honest with you, if he can try to sell, I can make him into a winner, he's had enough time. To me, that dog don't hunt. So, but you got to give Dart his opportunities. I watched a lot of this game. I mean, Russell Wilson, 17 of 37, 168. He just tentative in pocket, does not look well. And Dart is younger. He could move around. Maybe he can make some plays with his legs. Look like maybe Drake May did last year. You know what I mean? Yeah, the team was in disarray, but he went out there and made some plays. And why not give a little excitement to this team that's so downtrodden? You saw Daboll. He's lost kind of control of this team. Him and Neighbors fighting on the sidelines. That was not a good look.
Nope.
And it's just not going to get any better. Washington, it was kind of sloppy, but it was a dominant win. And then you talk about they're going on the road to Dallas. Then they got to face Kansas City, the
Ugh.
Chargers.
I mean, that's
Then
just
maybe they
brutal,
get
man.
reprieve at the Saints, and then they have Philadelphia at Denver at Philadelphia. So that stretch, why not try to find something to make it better? Because it's going to be ugly, Q. And unfortunate for all the Giants fans, but I think it's going to be bad. And maybe you can find something that Abdul Carter, Burns, in that defense.
Scott asked, I want to know what both of you think is too early to panic, but could be concerning team after week one or player. I mean, look, aside from the Giants, 49ers with those injuries, not so much, the kicker. Okay, I get it. But, Purdy getting banged up, Kittle on the IR. I think Kansas City, I think Kansas City got exposed to open up the season. And I know everyone wants to sit there and say, well, hold on a second, back up. It's Kansas City. Justin Herbert, much maligned Justin Herbert with the gorgeous flowing locks, right? Because I'm all about the hair. Justin Herbert slinging it all over the friggin' place for over 300. You know, the kid can flat out play. And what alarmed me more about Kansas City is they really couldn't establish a run. Patrick Mahomes accounts for 57 yards. Pacheco is sitting there saying this is going to be a revenge tour. Five carries for 25 yards. They this is a team that typically can run the ball even if it's running back by committee. You've got the issues with the wide receiver. Losing the young kid to that shoulder injury. Kelsey, yeah, he had his moments, but he only had 2 receptions. Obviously, one was a touchdown. I think Kansas City, even though it's week one, because if you look around, the Raiders got the win, the Chargers got the win, and Denver got the win. So Kansas City, to me, I think is, I'm going
Yeah,
to say panic mode.
yeah, and I'll give you a couple points on that one before I give my pick. But I agree with you. Jawan Taylor, he was a penalty machine on the offensive line over and over again. He's a problem. Once Worthy went out with that shoulder injury, Q, they were just non-explosive. I mean, yeah, Hollywood Brown catching these little 5-yard passes, Juju Smith-Schuster, but there's no one out there that scares you, and Mahomes can't drive the football down the field. So he made some good plays with his legs, but then you got to wonder, is he crazy throwing his shoulder into guys and trying to show his toughness because he could get knocked out.
Oh,
So
but
this,
can I cut you off for a minute? I
yeah,
don't want to see that shit anymore. Don't throw the flag then when he does that little stutter step and he dances out of bounds, right?
correct. He's
Be
like
honest.
anybody else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. All the years that we sit there and say you can't touch Mahomes, he does that. He starts to ease up a little bit, and then he draws the contact. He lowers his shoulder that time, so I don't want to hear it anymore if he gets knocked on his fanny.
correct. And they're going to play a tough Eagles team, and the Chiefs are saying, "Oh, we want revenge, et cetera." From the Super Bowl. I know Arrowhead's a tough place to play, but Philadelphia, that's a tough game for them. And yeah, they have a lot of things that they need to clean up in terms of the Chiefs, and including their defense. The team I'll say that you got to worry about, and when I saw them, I was like, wow, kind of an eye opener. The Houston Texans,
Oh
two
yeah, their
of nine,
offense stunk.
2 of 9 on third downs,
Yep.
11 penalties. They allowed 3 sacks to C.J. Stroud, who just looked very tentative in the pocket. And the Rams clearly outplayed them. You wonder. We always gave that division to them by default, and you're wondering if they're going to be able to turn this thing around because Nico Collins didn't really have any catches, and with that Tank Dell injury, and Joe Mixon as well, that his injury, you're wondering who's going to step up for that offense.
No suspension for Carter with the Eagles. Obviously, you get thrown out early. That's your ejection suspension. They did make a sneaky little move though. They made a trade with Jacksonville to go and get the kid Bigsby, Tank Bigsby. I think he's a solid player. Now, I don't know if the reports are there's no relation to this being, in regards to Will Shipley injury. But now you have another back, you have a punt kick returner, another little added weapon out of the backfield. They've got Kansas City coming up. You mentioned the Texans and their offense. That was an issue. The other thing, Bo Nix. I'm high on Denver, man, but there were a couple throws I saw I did not like. Bad pick. They got the win. Sean Payton screwing people, not kicking the friggin' field goal when the line's 8.5. I don't get it. What do you got to do? You got to go out there and pad this kid's stats. Like, To hell with the analytics and being arrogant. Kick the freaking field goal. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, Q, that was my survivor pool special, and it was a tough watch. Let me tell you, Bonus was trying to give that game away. He had interceptions, he fumbled the football, the punt returner fumbled the ball, and they just looked like, okay, we're going to roll the ball out, and Tennessee's going to just give us this game. But eventually, they did salt it away. But um, Denver's got to play better, especially everybody saying, oh, they can overtake the Chargers and overtake the Chiefs in that division. So yeah, it was a loss. It was a win, but it was kind of like, okay, was this a loss? And we had a lot of things to kind of improve upon.
Hey, listen, there are teams that got by. Atlanta, that's a good kicker. He missed one. It happens. Tampa escapes. Um, Buffalo came back. Minnesota came back. Pittsburgh came back. But man, I see some bad football, and I know it's only week one. I see some bad football. Miami's a bad team. Cleveland's a bad team. The Giants are a bad team. Carolina, I thought Carolina, here you go, that was going to be one of my dark horse picks for week one, and they laid an absolute egg. And I know they had to deal with the lightning and the delay, but both teams had to deal with that as well, which kind of leads me into this. So we do, when you join us, Vance's View, Lloyd Vance, we do the game balls, your game balls. I have no idea who the game balls you pick, who the lackeys are. I, I'm gonna go a different route here. And by the way, Micah McFadden, that's a tough loss. He's gonna miss part of the season with that foot injury for the Giants. He's a good player. That's what Garofalo is reporting. I'm gonna say your game ball. I think because of the magnitude of that week one matchup and showing that, yeah, this is why I'm the MVP, I would say your game ball has to go to Josh Allen. Or maybe it goes, I know you're not going to give it to Aaron Rodgers. I don't see you giving it to McCarthy. I'm going to say Josh Allen gets the game ball.
Q, a lot of people, man. It was a tough one to pick.
Yeah,
I give a shout out to one guy before I give it.
go
Geno
ahead.
Smith played very
He
well.
did.
360 yards passing. I mean, the most for a Raiders quarterback in debut. So I thought about him, but you're right. I had to give it to Superman, Josh Allen. I mean, he was just tremendous. And you thought the game was over, Q. There were a couple of times I'm like, all right, this thing's done. 34-19, they're down. Then 40-25, they're down. And then the clock's running. And you said, all right, maybe they can't do it. But, 33 of 46, 394 passing, 2 TDs. And then he ran the ball 14 times, 30 yards for 2 rushing touchdowns. So he willed his team to victory. And you're right. Sunday Night Football, everybody's watching, and they got it done. And then on the other side of it, you're like, what do the Ravens need to do? I mean, you hate to fast forward to the playoffs from week one, but it's like, can they get it done when it matters most?
Yeah, I read a stat. I mean, the blown leads by Harbaugh are ridiculous. I still think they're too talented of a team to not be a playoff team, but it's a bad loss to start the season. When you think about the divisional loss where Andrews drops the potential 2-point conversion, right? And then you have an opportunity. You're taking care of business. Derrick Henry's running like a beast, and then you get the fumble, turns the tide of the game around, and then Josh Allen makes ridiculous plays. I also thought an underrated moment in that game was late going in the locker room at the half where they put another second left on the clock and they were able to kick a field goal.
Yeah, that was a very good challenge. And at first, Q, I was like, oh, they didn't get the home stadium discount where the guy, little slow on the clock, and then they put it back on there. And
Correct.
great kick by Prater. You got to tip your cap to him. All the kickers are having problems. You get Matt Prater off the couch, and this guy's just drilling long kicks, and including the game winner. So, you know, big win for them, and they're going to have to continue because everybody is looking to play them. But their schedule is nice. Don't forget they only play like 5 teams that are playoff teams, and they're trying to get the road to go through Buffalo.
Yeah. 49ers with these injuries, Purdy's banged up shoulder, Kittle on the IR. They just cut their kicker. A couple guys were asking, hey, will Cleveland do that with their kicker? I said the difference is a rookie. Now, I know you typically don't give the lackey to kickers sometimes, once in a while, it's a special teams here and there. I think over the years you might have. Is it a quarterback?
No,
Oh,
and there were some that
is it a
Tua
defensive
Tua
back?
Tua missed it, but
Is it a defensive back?
not a defensive back.
I was going to say maybe Jackson. Oh, man. Wasn't a quarterback. You're not going special team. Oh, man. Maybe he was a head coach. I don't. Who was it this week?
I thought about giving it to Jalen Carter, but I just let that go, you know. But that was terrible look for the Eagles. I mean, that could have turned that whole game there. But
Yeah.
I did give it to a kicker, Browns kicker, Andre O. Schmidt.
The rookie that I just mentioned, the
Yes,
kid's first game, man.
he missed an extra
Oh
point.
shit. Yeah,
Oh,
4 points.
he missed the extra point. That was huge in that game. He kept going for two. And then he misses, I mean, a 36-yard potential game winner. I felt so bad for those fans in Cleveland. I mean, they had their chance. And it was crazy because the Bengals knew they dodged a bullet there because they are always off to this slow starts and they weren't playing very well. You know, Jamar Chase did not have many catches and the team just seemed in disarray. But yeah, Schmidt saved them. So I gave him my lackey for this week. And I also thought about Tua and the whole Miami Dolphins team as a whole.
I mean, if you were to look at it like 10 being, yeah, it's definitive on a scale 1 to 10. Do you believe the Dolphins make a head coaching change midseason? I mean, is that like a 5-ish, 6, depending upon how the next couple games play out?
Well, you know, Stephen Ross is getting up there in age, and we'll see the owner. We'll see if he is impatient. Chris Greer's been there a while, the general manager. I think they will give McDaniel his opportunities to kind of turn this thing around. They have New England at home. That
Yep.
if they look bad at home, though, that's not going to be a good look. Then they're at
Nope.
Buffalo.
Yep.
They have the Jets
Yep.
at Carolina, Chargers at Cleveland, at Atlanta. So they have some winnable games in there, but they need to clean up their game plan because it just looked like they were in total disarray. The offensive line was not blocking very well. And we talked about Teron Armstead, him retiring, with big thing for that team. And they have a lot to clean up, but they have so many weapons. But you got to
Yeah,
keep the quarterback upright.
I'm sorry, they need to get rid of Tyreek Hill. It's just there's too much stuff with this guy. It's just there's always something with this guy.
Yeah,
Always.
to me, it's trending towards AB land. You know what I mean? He's a malcontent no matter what. You know what I mean? I just think
Well,
if
it's
they
not even that. Now there's stuff coming down about potential,
correct.
another domestic violence, assault charge. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I am curious. Sirianni came out the other day and said that any type of punishment for Carter, it'll be handled in house. The NFL already came down with their ruling. There you have it. I can't see Nick Sirianni suspending Jalen Carter, especially knowing that they have the Chiefs coming up. I would be shocked if he did that.
You and me both, Q. He saw the way that defense totally changed without Carter on the field. You know, Jordan Davis played way too many snaps. They were not getting the pressure they needed from Nolan Smith and the rest of those guys. And for them, yeah, luckily the linebacker stepped up and had a pretty good game, Ball and Campbell. Defensively, they let up a lot of yards through the air. So they need that pass rush. And yeah, they'll find him the $57,000 game check and talk to him. But yeah, he'll be on the field, though, against Kansas City for the Eagles.
Man says, didn't I tell you Giants would be lucky to win 2? I said they were going to win 3 or 4 games. Wasn't there a Death Star Mike Ben involving the Giants? No, there wasn't. Go away. I thought Arizona was going to be a surprise team, but not an impressive win over the Saints. I think that's so. I looked this up. I believe there were only 3 games that hit the over, right? So offenses were a little behind with these defenses, sloppy play, working out the rust here and there. The Saints played well. I I think their quarterback is just he's not an NFL quarterback, and I know I'm trying to be as diplomatic as possible when I say that. But to Scott's point, yeah, Murray was efficient, but they did run for a buck 46. I think that speaks to the Saints' inability to stop the run. I think sometimes in the NFL, you're going to get some of these games that um, they're not all going to be routes. They're not all going to be blowouts. And, the Cardinals went in there and Murray was efficient. They got a win.
Definitely. I think he did a nice job. Benson had some nice plays for them out of the backfield, and he's getting all his receivers involved, Harrison Jr. and the rest of the guys. So good quality win for them on the road, and they have a good chance of winning this week as well. And you start 2-0, you never know what can happen. They're having Carolina come to Arizona this week, so if they can get by them, then you set up at San Francisco week 3. That's a huge NFC West battle.
um, so regarding Jalen Carter, uh, Schefter, the mothership, tweets us out. Eagles and Drew Rosenhaus also worked on an agreement that the team will not use the suspension to avoid guarantees in Jalen Carter's contract or seat signing bonus payment forfeiture. It's one of the reasons players don't want to get suspended. A fine is one thing, but again, they turn around and you're not playing, then guess what? Your incentives are shot to shit, right? When you're not out on the field. So it's something that is worth noting. I did want to ask you real quick. I was looking ahead to these week 2 lines. I don't know if you saw anything that jumped out. Let me pull these up. What do we got here? So week 2. So Thursday night football. This should be a nice little matchup. We typically get these duds, but you got Washington and the Packers. Packers laying 3.5. Cowboys are 5.5, 6 right now against the Giants. Bears and the Lions, a must win for both those teams. Dare I say it in week 2. Bills and the Jets. Seattle and the Steelers. Browns, Ravens. Eagles and the Chiefs, obviously. We got that double dip on Monday night as well. I forgot about that. Bucks and the Texans and the Chargers and the Raiders. Anything stand out?
And yeah, there are a lot of good games this past week. We had a lot of divisional matchups. There were 8 of them, and there will be some more this week. The game I'm probably looking for. There's a couple. I want to see Seattle. They played pretty well. I want to see if they're able to go to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is a big test for them. They got to shut down that offense and can drive the football down the field. JSN played very well for them, so I want to see that one. Crazy enough, Denver at Indianapolis. Both teams are 1-0, and is the real Daniel Jones going to stand up? I mean, this is a huge situation for him. Denver, the thing is, we talked about how bad they played, but they can sack the quarterback. They had
Yeah.
6 sacks in that game. So we'll see if Indianapolis is able to weather the storm. Obviously, the Super Bowl rematch is huge, and imagine if the Eagles do win that game at Kansas City's 0-2, and we're talking about desperation mode. I know we talk going into the season, you're like, this is the year they don't win the NFC West, and it could happen if they start 0-2.
Listen, it's the reason I picked Denver to win the AFC West. I just the Chargers are a playoff team. Listen, you don't want to be. See, what we always forget. We always talk about teams. You get to the Super Bowl. You win it. Can you repeat? But then there's a flip side to that. When a team gets blown out in the fashion in which they get blown out, you're not thinking right away, man, this team's going to march their way back to the Super Bowl. I mean, I know we typically don't remember the teams that get waxed, but I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. I remember when that Giant team got absolutely drilled 34-7 by the Ravens. They never recovered in 2001. They never ever recovered. 2002, finally, 2003, they had that crazy game against the 49ers. But you always forget those teams that get blown out. And the Chiefs got their doors blown out against the Philadelphia Eagles in that game. And right now I'm looking at this matchup and I pulled up even the line, the opening line, the look ahead line was, I think, 2. It's down to 1.5. The Eagles are favorite on the road against Kansas City.
That tells you everything you need to know. I mean, they always said Arrowhead, the best home field advantage around, and Kansas City's going in there as underdog. And I talked about the difficulties on the edges of their offensive line, the non-explosive at the receivers. They're saying Worthy may give it a go with a brace. They're going to need him because Kelsey, yeah, he had that touchdown, as you said, but he's just not making a lot of plays. And then defensively, they're having problems stopping people. So it's a tough assignment going against the Eagles this week.
Yeah, it is. And the issue too is you get 4 weeks into the NFL season, right? You're pretty much quarter of a way in. Parcells would always kind of break it down into the halves. You go 5-3, 5-3, 10-6, usually get you in. Telling you, man, 0-2, 1-3. That's not a spot you want to be in. It really isn't.
It isn't, and they're another team with a tough schedule. I mean, they're facing a lot of teams, and we talked about this. They're the hunted. A lot of teams want to knock them off and say, okay, they're no longer the kings of the AFC, and the Eagles gave them the blueprint. The Eagles were not afraid of them. They got the
Nope.
pressure on them in the
Nope.
Super Bowl, and they just dominated. So, a lot of teams are saying, okay, they're just another team now.
Yeah, now I wonder though if Kansas City wins that game to open up the season and they only lose the Super Bowl by 3 on a last second field goal, are they favored in that game?
yeah, they definitely would. I mean, they have such a home field advantage, and you talked about last season that what it took to week 11 until they lost the game, and they just always found a way to win. But this
Right.
season, things just look different, Q. And I think a big thing is that Rasheed Rice suspension. I mean, that's huge for them. He was their guy. He opened everything up for everybody else on that offense. And you talk about their lack of a running game as well. So a lot to work on there. I know Andy Reid typically plays well after a loss, and he finds a way. So it's going to be interesting to see if him, Nagy, and Spags can make the adjustments.
I know it's. I mean, I hate that I'm actually even bringing this up for content's sake or debate or argument's sake, but is Josh has Josh Allen surpassed Patrick Mahomes?
No, I can't do that. In terms of you just have all the Super Bowls and that
I
Mahomes
I
plays
I
so well.
get it. I know, but we know collectively too. Football is a team sport, right? Patrick Mahomes is an all-time great, Mount Rushmore. But are we? Let me rephrase that. Are we starting to see? Is Allen sticking his head in that conversation?
Yeah, he's challenging him for the top spot
There
in
you go.
terms of regular season. You know what I mean?
Gotta love
Obviously,
that fact.
Lamar and Allen, they got to get it done, get to a Super Bowl, that whole narrative. But in the regular season, those two are playing spectacularly, and their teams believe in them in terms of getting it done. Obviously, Mahomes has that steely resolve in the playoffs that you can't say, okay, you know, don't bet against him, we always say. So it's
Uh,
a lot like Tom Brady. And even at the end of his career, he always found a way to win.
Dan chimes in. I know you're closing out the segment of the show. Q. Quick question though. Panic time for my Lions. Yeah, I mean that was a you know Green Bay physically beat them up, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's time for panic time, but there were some things that concern you in terms of they got a new center in there. They got some pressure right up the middle. He was having some problems with his protection schemes. Um, we didn't see a lot. Amon Ra had a couple catches here and there, but you'd like to see Jared Goff have some more efficiency as well. And defensively, it just seems like they had a lot of penalties again defensively. And
Mhm.
they're another team. Last year, they won 15 games. So everybody are saying, you know what? Let's shut them up. And that was a divisional game. The Packers were 1-5 last year in division. They really wanted to win that one
Yep.
from their home
Yeah.
crowd.
Yeah. De facto says you can't make that claim until the Chiefs are thrown. That's a fair point. I just think you're going to start to see the cracks in the armor here. There's no way around it, right? And it just Kansas City seems off. They
Yeah,
just seem off.
I
It's
agree.
like Miami, right? And I'm not comparing them, but when Miami goes out and they bring in a guy like Darren Waller, late in the summer, you kind of know he's got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. He's not all in. Now, I'm not comparing the two, so please, people don't go nuts. I'm not comparing him to a Hall of Fame tight end in Kelsey, but everyone kind of knew, if Kelsey was serious with Taylor Swift, and obviously it is, right? Everyone was saying it's a sham. Well, they got engaged. Like, where is he going to be at mentally, right? And you have the backdrop, coming off a bad loss. Mahomes getting a little older. Um, injuries as well. Andy Reid, how much longer is he going to? I just felt like I just saw a team that got broke in the Super Bowl, and again, this is just my opinion. Quite frankly, I don't know if they recover. Now, can they win 10, 11 games and be a playoff team? Yeah, but I don't believe they are the same team that we saw several years back. And I think the Eagles had a hand in that, especially last
Yeah,
February.
only time will tell, man. But right now, you have to say teams are not afraid of them they used to be. I mean, we'll see how the Eagles go in Arrowhead. I mean, it was always like a tough place to play. No one had wanted to go there. Mahomes and you're right, Mahomes. A lot of people pulled the mask off. I mean, they're not
Yeah,
afraid of him. Yes, they have the rookie at left tackle. He's doing a pretty good job. He had some penalties, but they have a lot to clean up. And yeah, there are a lot of whispers out there, Q.
yeah. Are you going to be cutting a Lloyd Vance's Insider Football this week?
Yeah, we're actually gonna have a special show tomorrow night. On Wednesday, we're gonna tape it and put it out there, and
Okay.
we'll do a minor recap of some of the things I talked about with last week, but we'll really start looking forward to week 2 and the
Yep.
matchups and um, just getting everybody ready. And I'm just so glad we got real games to talk about,
Yeah.
and you see why the NFL's America's obsession. I
Yep.
mean, the numbers were through the roof, and the games were pretty much exciting.
I was told too, we got good eyeballs with BYP. The station was telling me you can watch it on um, WON New York .net. If you have Roku, you can search for the stream on a budget on Roku. You can add it to the TV or device. I'll give you all the information, but that'll be Back Your Play. Lloyd and I will cut a new episode this week, and that also airs on Spotify, Amazon Music, and of course on Buzzsprout, as well as Apple Podcasts and on SR 1029 FM The Game. Don't forget to give Lloyd a follow at Lloyd Vance. He'll be back in the saddle with me on Thursday. Friday, we'll start to recap, or I should say preview week 2. By the way, have you ever dabbled in layup?
No, no,
Yeah.
it looks like some young folks would partake.
This
I
is
got to talk to my son.
this is hold on. This is THC infused refreshment.
Oh, maybe not then.
It's a cannabis drink. That's what I'm saying. Hold on. I took a sip of it the other night. I was in bed by 8.
Yeah, I'll have a couple Mick Ultras, and that's about
Hey
it. I'm an old guy.
man, who you telling, right? We're both in that same boat, brother. All right, always appreciate you, my friend. We'll talk later in the week.
All right, Q. Thanks for having me on.
All right, you got it. My guy, Lloyd Vance, kind enough to join us. Little Mitch Ultra. All right, 6 o'clock straight up. Got to start wrapping up. Good stuff. Want to get into a little baseball and pennant races later on in the week, and then a lot more football. Might also, believe it or not, NBA is right around the corner of October. Yes, we might bring back a little basketball. Sorry, guys, we got to do it. We'll put out the picks and the plays later on in the week, and as I mentioned, Lloyd and I are going to drop a new edition of BYP. Let me see if I can squeeze in a couple more of these comments. Stars chimes in. Q, what rookie actually impressed you the most? I mean, look, Cam Ward was under duress. Dart didn't play, right? Um, the kid in Minnesota, he had a good game. He had a good game. 21 points in the fourth quarter on the road. That's impressive, man. That is impressive. I mean, that's a nice win. Update: George Kittle out multiple weeks, hamstring injury. Team is doing a CT scan on Juwan Jennings to make sure his shoulder's okay. What else we got here? Steelers are expected to sign free agent safety Jabril Peppers. He was also cut from New England, so Steelers are trying to load up a little more on the defensive side of the ball. Jerry Jones on 105.3 The Fan said the Cowboys are going to have the same look at DT this week versus the Giants. So no Mozzie Smith. Jones says he's excited by what he's seen from the 7th-round pick, Jay Toya. What else we got there? Anything else that stands out? Nothing We already mentioned that trade by the Eagles and the Jags. No suspension for Carter per the NFL. And then, of course, the 49ers waiving their kicker, Jake Moody. So, but interesting enough, like I said, 1 week of the NFL is in the books. Thursday Night Football. That should be a good game. That should be a good game, Thursday Night Football. Man says a sip. What is that? A sip. Yeah, that was it. A sip. No one be talking till February. That's not happening. Who's the front runner for comeback player of the year? Danny Dimes or Rodgers? I mean, really, after one friggin' week, stop. Could be Geno Smith. I saw everyone jumping on Aaron Rodgers MVP odds. Daniel Jones is going to eventually turn back into a pumpkin. We'll just leave it at that. And Rodgers, I don't think he's playing 17 games. I don't see Rodgers making it through the season. I just don't. I really don't. You know, the other thing I was thinking too is that situation in Atlanta. I know they lost the game and Penix played well. I still believe Kirk Cousins is playing the season. I don't know for who, but he's playing for someone. Don't dismiss Captain Kirk. Don't do it. Don't do it. Daniel Jones played well, and Rodgers played well. So you got to give credit where credit is due. All right, got to start wrapping up. Good stuff from you guys. Lloyd Van jumping on board. As always, get social with us at Rich Q on Q, X, TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. Check out the YouTube channel and subscribe, like, comment. Woosah Wednesday, back in the saddle manana. Talk a little baseball, pennant races. We'll start to look ahead to week 2 in the NFL. We'll mix in a little college, Costco as well. We always say value. Costco is going to join us tomorrow early in the 4 o'clock hour. So we encourage you guys to keep it locked in. As always, have a good Sports Tuesday. You got a lot of baseball cooking. Pennant races are heating up in baseball. Pennant races are heating up, and we are, as we like to say, down the stretch. Yankees just 2 back of Toronto. Now, the Phillies are running away with the NL East. They're up by 8. Cubs, Milwaukee's running away. But the NL West is a great, great competitive division right now. You got the Dodgers and the Padres pretty much neck and neck. The Dodgers have really hit the skids. Even though they won 2 straight, they're just 3-7 in their last 10. San Diego showing a little bit of signs of life, winning 3 straight. They're only a game back. So we'll get into the AL, NL, updated MVP, and Cy Young odds on tomorrow's show. Costco and college football. We encourage you guys to join us early into the show and get in with your comments as well. 6 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. You guys have a wonderful Sports Tuesday. We'll be back in the saddle mañana. And we'll do it all again, as always, on Rich Quinones. Appreciate you guys being keeping it locked into On Cue right here on our YouTube channel. Special thanks to our sponsors, of course, Fresh Roasted Coffee, Jersey Shore Breaks. Get ready with tea, 3 Brooks Bourbon. Maybe I'll take a sip of that, a little hot toddy, and then we'll count a little sheep early on this evening. But we'll be back in the saddle tomorrow. Have a good Sports Tuesday. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. I'll start away with you.